Let's talk about Hurricane Milton. So the hurricane is coming. It is coming. For my people in Tampa, don't try to survive this one. It's a lot of bodies that they got washing up. It's a lot of bodies that they got washing up. You want to get out of Dodge on this one.
Florida is bracing for another major hurricane on the heels of Helene. The state was preparing for its largest evacuation since 2017 as Milton, which authorities say strengthened into a hurricane, bore down on western Florida. Milton is now classified as a Category 1 hurricane with sustained winds of 85 miles per hour. Tom Murphy and his family were among Floridians filling up sandbags on Sunday.
Just in terms of preparation, you just got to do what you can early and just get out there, and it is what it is, right?
The U.S. National Hurricane Center projected it will make landfall near the Tampa Bay area on Wednesday. The new hurricane was expected to affect areas already hit hard by Helene, which made landfall further north a little less than 2 weeks ago. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis warned of a potentially higher storm surge and more power outages from Milton compared to Helene, which the state is still reeling from.
This is a 24/7 moment for this debris removal. You have a storm and then have one less than 2 weeks later, 2 majors back to back. That is not something that is easy. That creates a lot of challenges. And so what we have to do is just do it round the clock until it's no longer safe to do it.
Helene left a wake of destruction across North Carolina, Florida, and much of the South. That storm also killed more than 200 people across 6 states, making it the deadliest named storm to hit the mainland U.S. since Hurricane Katrina killed nearly 1,400 people in 2005. Meanwhile, U.S. President Joe Biden has dispatched an additional 500 troops to North Carolina to assist with recovery efforts from Helene, part of a wider federal response that includes $137 million in approved.
So before we get into Milton, before we deep dive into that, because I see some people in the chat, shout out to my chat. Somebody said, what's my email address? Hey, any of the moderators, can you please put my email address in the chat, antondaniels413@gmail.com. Number one, let me just tell the people that y'all got to get out of there. Get out of there, bro. If you can, get out of there, because it's too many bodies that's piling up and too many people think that they're going to ride it out. It's not going to go well for you. You got to assume the worst and hope for the best. Assume the worst and hope for the best. And as of right now, they're still finally getting to some of the most hardest hit areas from Hurricane Helene. And I see the people in the chat saying it's already a Category 3, it's already a Category 4. I'm still trying to understand, and y'all got to sell me on this. Why would anybody move their permanent residence to Florida?
Search crews are combing through the remote mountains in western North Carolina, hoping to locate those still missing and those in need of supplies. Teams from across the country helping with those search and rescue efforts. Private helicopter companies stepping in to deliver much-needed aid, including food, water, fuel, and over 100 donated Starlink satellite units.
We've just been distributing them to local fire departments who we know have been isolated.
Oh, so they depended on Elon Musk, the very person that they tried to villainize.
With no comms, and it's fantastic.
In Asheville, the North Carolina National Guard working nonstop to deliver supplies to residents. ABC's Morgan Norwood is there.
These guardsmen have been working round the clock to help get aid into the disaster zone, but with so many roads closed, there's only so far they can go.
Duke Energy says they have repaired more than 1 million power outages in North Carolina, but about 170,000 customers in the mountains are still without power.
We're committed to continuing safe restoration until everyone's power is restored.
Duke says they're dealing with unprecedented damage.
Think about where power lines are normally located. There are easements along those roadways. Those easements are gone.
This substation in Swannanoa buried under the debris.
If we go down a little further, you see an 18-wheeler cargo container wrapped around one of our transmission towers.
Much of the small town, about 20 miles east of Asheville, washed away, homes flattened, businesses destroyed, roads impassable.
Looks like a buying opportunity for somebody. When I see these situations, the first thing I think to myself is, who's going to take advantage of what's happening over there in North Carolina, or what's happening over in Tennessee, what's happening in Georgia? Who's going to take advantage of what's happening in Florida? I keep hearing a lot of people saying that there's some lithium mines or something like that over there. So I don't ever just take things at face value. Even though I believe in the preservation of life, I don't think that life is as valuable as maybe our federal government or other entities think that it is, or big business or whatever, right? I just don't. And so when you say all of these homes just washed away and stuff, come on, man. Come on. But let me pivot over and show y'all the current latest updates with Milton and Hurricane Milton. And they saying you need to get up out of there. And if you don't plan to evacuate, just write your name on the body.
As we are tracking what will eventually become Hurricane Milton, expected in a matter of days to impact the Gulf Coast of Florida. You heard from Florida Governor Ron DeSantis just about 30 minutes ago. And right now, I do want to bring in Florida's Attorney General, Ashley Moody, to talk a little bit more about the preparations here. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us this morning, as I know you do have a very busy time ahead of you.
Sure. Yes. Great to be with you. As you know, the Tampa Bay area within Florida is in the direct middle of the warning cone. And everyone here is pulling together in preparation as we are still reeling and feeling the aftermath of Hurricane Helene.
I want to start from the beginning here, because yesterday we really saw everything kind of start to develop there with Milton. So just tell me, as you just experienced Hurricane Helene and the powerful storm there, as well as the aftermath, what goes through your mind when you do hear that now you're going to be dealing with another major storm that's striking the Gulf Coast of Florida?
Well, if you'll remember with Hurricane Helene, it hit the Big Bend area of Florida directly. That's right where the state starts curving. And Tampa Bay, which is a very large urban population, and includes Pinellas County, Hillsborough County, Pasco County, it kind of got that outskirts, but it still experienced significant storm surge. We are still recovering from that. As you know, that the Tampa Bay area is where we experience the most loss of life, which is our biggest concern when storms like this hit. And as you know, property was very much affected, and we still have a lot of debris and cleanup material, appliances, couches, I can go on and on, that were removed from homes and are waiting to be removed. And so to hear that you're now going to be predicted to be in the direct path of what will be a major hurricane, significant winds, significant storm surge, is incredibly concerning. And so, you know, as we're dealing in the aftermath of Helene, we are now all hands on deck, pushing forward to prepare for Milton. And, you know, as Florida is used to these natural disasters, we have a great teams in place from the state level, Governor DeSantis, on down to our county level emergency operations center. And I will just compliment both Pinellas and Hillsborough, who did a great job. But now that we're back in that cone, we're asking residents to please heed evacuation warnings. That's our number one message. There were folks that didn't heed those warnings and wish that they had during Hurricane Helene. And so our number one message right now, pay attention to your evacuation zone. If you are asked to leave, please do so. You don't have to go hundreds of miles away. Just get inland, get to higher ground. And that is our number one message right now.
I was having conversations with family members, and a lot of them moved from Michigan down to Tampa. Thank y'all for letting me know I was muted. A lot of them moved from Michigan down to Tampa, and literally they are in the eye of all of these storms. Now, obviously, a lot of them was spared, and nothing ever happened as far as them being significantly affected from Helene. But, you know, I told them, and I had a conversation before I even went out to the West Coast, before Helene hit. And I said, listen, y'all shouldn't be building homes down there. You should not be investing in that economy. That's not going to be good for you, in my personal and my professional opinion. You shouldn't be moving down there. I would not be investing in that economy personally. I think that Florida is a nice place to visit. I think that Tampa is awesome. Miami is awesome. I'm not a fan of Orlando. It's more of a tourist, Disney park attraction. I'm not a fan of Orlando. The Keys, all of that place. I said, but listen, man, it's not going to be the spot. It's not the spot. It's not the spot to invest in. The state-sponsored insurance is going to be denying y'all claims because they ain't trying to go broke. You got crazy immigration. A lot of y'all is under sea level. Hurricanes is going to continuously get worse. And you know what they told me? It was like, yeah, that's nice. Thank you for your concern. We're continuing on. Okay. All right. Do your thing, man. Do your thing. Do your thing. Next year, same thing. I only go and visit Florida outside of hurricane season, preferably when it's cold outside here in Michigan. I can always catch a plane ride, but nowhere in hell am I going to put my greatest investment, my real estate, on the line. In Florida, you could forget it, bro. You could absolutely forget it.
And does it make it even more important to evacuate if you are under that evacuation order, considering some of those areas were just so heavily impacted? I know I saw some of the photos coming in out of Clearwater, Florida, for instance, where the roads were flooded and there was that damage left behind. So does that make it even more important than ever to evacuate those areas that have already been hit?
It's incredibly important. The ground is saturated. As that storm surge comes in, we have just dealt with that. It's saturated. That presents very real challenges to being able to absorb that water. And so, again, and I know there are so many people. This is my home county, born and raised within this county in Florida. We have so many friends that are still reeling from the affects of Hurricane Helene. And I do think, because we just experienced this, I spoke with the mayor here in Tampa, who said, we think Helene is going to help us get through to folks in terms of evacuation from Milton.
Nope.
Because even
Some
those that
people said they
chose
ain't
to
going
stay
nowhere.
within those very low-lying areas, subject to storm surge, they saw what can happen. And it's not just during the storm where those risks are real. It's in the immediate aftermath when it's hard to get communications to you. In many areas, we were 99% down for electricity.
Some people said unless they're building houses on stilts. I see houses being built up like that in Biloxi, Mississippi. And when I go and visit Louisiana, I see houses way up in the air on I guess it's like cement blocks, and it's up in the air for when the storm come in and it pass out. And I'm not doing all of that, bro. I'm not doing all of that. I remember the first time that I left Michigan and I started seeing homes that ain't have basements in them. I'm like, why y'all ain't got no basements? Oh, it's because we get flooding all the time. Man, if I don't have the option to be able to build a basement, I'm not building it there. I'm straight. So I guess my advice to y'all is just to get out of there, man. Be careful. I know a lot of y'all, you got everything invested in it. If you can, get out of there. The first place that is going to be a catastrophic failure when it comes to real estate is Florida. Florida is always the one that suffers first. It's going to be Florida, then it's going to be Nevada, okay? The reason that it's going to be Florida and Nevada is because Florida is always going to take the brunt of whatever happens in the economy first, especially since A, its cost of living is high, B, natural disasters always hit there first, and C, insurance companies is pulling out. And then last but not least, you see today, people cannot sell their homes in Florida. People are having difficulty. I know Kamala Harris keep telling y'all, we're going to build 3 million new homes by the end of my first term. It's 1.8 million homes on the market right now. Right now, it's 1.8 million homes on the market. You drive down a lot of these neighborhoods in Miami and Florida, those condo buildings is empty. Those buildings is being foreclosed on. A lot of these neighborhoods, they got for sale signs up just like it was 2006, 2007. All right? And so the first place it's going to hit is Florida. The next place it's going to hit is Nevada, because when people don't have money, guess what? They stop traveling. Tourism. Industries that are heavily hit by tourism is going to be absolutely decimated. All right? So I'm just telling y'all, bro. I'm telling y'all, get out of there if you can. Somebody in the chat said, Anton, how do you evacuate a whole city? Get out of there, bro. And I'm not just talking about temporarily. If you can, y'all ain't gonna listen. You ain't gonna listen. It is what it is. Anyways, Florida's a great place to live. Okay, I got you. You're right. You got it. Get out of there if you can. Don't find yourself in the eye of this storm and then this hurricane and more is coming, all right?